we are told fill in the table with whole numbers to make 10.74 in 2 different ways. So pause this video and see if you can figure that out. So you really need to fill out what would you put in here for this to be a representation of 10.74. All right, now let's do it together. And I'm going to rewrite the number a little bit larger so that we can really inspect the place values. So one way to think about it is we have 0 ones and then we have 1 10, but they don't express it that way. They don't say 1 10 and 0 ones up here. They just say 10 ones, but that's reasonable. So when they're saying 10 ones here, they are referring to those 10 ones, or you could view that as 1 10 and 0 ones. Either way, you have 10 ones. And then if you move 1 decimal place over, this 7 tenths, well, that makes sense. You have a 7 in the tenths place. And then this 4 hundredths makes sense. You have 4 in the hundredths place. But now let's see what they're doing over here. So once again, they're saying no 10s, but 10 ones. So that is actually the same. We could say 1 10 and 0 ones, or we could say 10 ones. And now over here, they've reduced the number of tenths. And you're like, hey, what's going on? Looks like there's 7 tenths here. But one way to think about it is they're regrouping from one place to another. And so what they've done is they've taken that extra tenth and they've put it someplace. And the only other place they could put it is in the hundredths place. So if I were to take a tenth from the tenths place, a tenth is worth 10 hundredths. So one way to think about it is they're taking a tenth from there. So now this is going to be 6 tenths. And where are you going to put that tenth? Well, you could put it in the hundredths place, but a tenth is going to be 10 hundredths. So if you add 10 hundredths to the 4 hundredths that are already there, well, that is going to give you 14 hundredths. So we would put a 14 right over there. Let's do another example just to really make sure we're understanding what's going on. So once again, they say fill in the table with whole numbers to make 5.4 in 3 different ways. So pause this video and see if you can have a go at it. All right, so I'm going to rewrite the number. So we have 5.4. And in this first row, this is maybe the most standard way or traditional way of interpreting 5.4. In our ones place, you have a 5, and you see that, 5 ones. And in our tenths place, we have a 4. And that's what they have right over here, 4 tenths. But what are they doing in this second row? Well, they're saying 24 tenths. 24 tenths. So somehow, in one way to think about it, in the tenths place, they were able to add 20 tenths. So they went from 4 tenths to 24 tenths. So if you're adding 20 tenths here, they must have taken it away from some other place. 20 tenths is the same thing as 2 ones. So they must have taken 2 ones away from here. So they took 2 ones away from here. So this would be 3 ones and now 24 tenths. So we could put a 3 right over there. And you can verify that. 24 tenths is the same thing as 2 wholes or 2 ones and 4 tenths, or 2.4. 2.4 plus 3 is going to be equal to 5.4. All right, so here we only have 1 1. And so what happened to the other 4 ones? Well, they must have been transferred to the tenths place. So let me rewrite the number. So if we were to take 4 ones away from the ones place, so we're taking 4 away from this, so you only have 1 left. And what would happen if I transfer those 4 ones to the tenths place? Well, then they would be 40 tenths. 4 ones are 40 tenths. So we would add 40 to 40 tenths over here. So we already have 4 tenths. So this would become 44 tenths. 44 tenths. And we're done.